people are more interested in helping themselves. So interested in diet, exercise, and taking their own supplements to stay healthy.
And I want a good show, damn it. Ready for a good show?
Doing awesome, yeah. I'm excited to talk to you, Angie. Thank you for having me.
Yes!
I've always been doing big into archery, and my dad said, hey, you guys want to start an archery store?
Yes, that's how I was.
Andrew, yes, of course, let's do this together.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the E-Comm Show. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the E-Comm Show. I'm your host, Andrew Maff, as always, and today I'm joined by the amazing Christine Alstat, who is the CEO of Eclectic Herb. Christine, how you doing? You ready for a good show?
Great. Yeah, super excited to be here.
I'm super happy to have you on the show. I am really excited about this one. I know like a little bit about the space. My wife is like really into this. So I'm getting there. I'm a novice, but I'm slowly kind of getting a little bit more into intermediate level. But I'd love to give you the opportunity, as always, kind of let everyone give a little bit of insight into your background, where you're at, where you've been. Obviously, more about Eclectic Herb, and we're going to take it from there. Okay.
Great. So I'll start with the company. So we're Eclectic Herb, based in Portland, Oregon, and we started in the country's oldest naturopathic school by two naturopathic physicians. And I'm also a naturopath myself. And what we do is we go out to the wild and we collect all these amazing herbs. We also grow some organically on a certified organic farm, and then we freeze dry them in-house. And what I love about my business is we're doing something good. We're completely sustainable. Freeze drying is like very earth-friendly method to dry herbs. And we just basically go out there and get people well. How I came into this, obviously I've got an accent, so I'm from New Zealand. Half Japanese. Never thought I would end up owning a herb company like this, but I met my late husband in Tokyo. Both being naturopaths, we connected right away and came over here, started getting involved in the business. And then 6 years ago, he died in a car accident, and overnight I became the owner of Eclectic. So it was a pretty quick learning curve, and I had to step up and take the company on. And what I really love about it is on a grand scale healing people. So I think that's the best thing about it.
Wow. That's I'm obviously very sorry to hear that, but at the same time, you're here now. And obviously Eclectic Herb's doing very well, so you've taken it on just fine, so it seems. So love the idea. Obviously I was doing a lot of digging, kind of getting to know the brand and everything before the show, because that's how these things work. You're selling in many different places. I saw you obviously have your own website. You're also on Amazon. Is there anywhere else that you're currently selling the product?
Yeah, we're on iHerb, Vitacost. We're also international, obviously pretty big in Japan, some other countries as well. So we've been in business for a long time, 44 years. So we started, we with because we're in the naturopathic college, and we had the two physicians that started the company. We started as the brand for the naturopaths that were graduating from the school. So we had the school endorsement, and then about 5 years after we started, we got out into the health food stores. And back then, the industry was really different. There was little mom and pop health food stores. There wasn't any E-Commerce, obviously, and a lot of it was word of mouth. So we had sales reps that were going to the stores and sell our products and talk about how great it was. And then E-Commerce came along, and then we transitioned. We got into Amazon, iHerb, and Vitacost, some of the bigger ones. And made that switch. So now we're bigger as a health food brand and now as a doctor brand.
Yeah. So you've kind of positioned into more of like a health food as opposed to a doctor. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, we're more consumer, so we can sell direct to consumers, so they can buy products rather than having to go through a doctor anymore.
Nice. What's that level of education like? Because kind of like I mentioned, like my wife's really into this stuff, and I'm trying to get there, so she's educating me. But like, what's the marketing approach? Because I know there's some people who know very well how all of the different products that you've got here, all the different herbs, how they're beneficial in many different ways. But there's so many things, right? Because it's basically a natural way to, help remedy issues that you may be having health wise or mental health wise, like a bunch of different ways. Like, how do you kind of educate on that?
A lot of people these days are pretty educated. There's a big movement in taking like sovereignty over your own health. And I think previously people would go to the doctor and they'd give their power away. It's like, I'm sick. What will you give me to help me? Whereas now people are more interested in helping themselves. So interested in diet, exercise, and taking their own supplements to stay healthy. So I think consumers are pretty educated, and then they're also pretty educated about the quality of the product. So what makes us different is I think some other companies, they go to China, they get the cheapest herb, it's been air dried, and then they put it in a capsule, do some good marketing on it and sell it, whereas ours are really from the earth. So we gather a lot ourselves right here in the forests of Oregon, and then we grow others on the farm, and we see them come up from the earth, and then freeze drying them keeps them as fresh as possible to the day that they were coming out of the earth. And I think consumers are pretty educated on the differences between quality of product. So we have a pretty loyal following. I understand what they're getting.
Yeah. Wow. So are they delivered frozen, or are they just like kind of traditional freeze dried where it's still dry and you send it as is?
So what we do is we gather them from the earth when they're like at peak potency, and then we bring them in. So they come into the company fresh, and then we put them in our freeze dryers. And the freeze dryer it uses a vacuum and low temperatures, and it just removes the water, and it keeps all the potency of the herbs, all the nutrition, phytochemicals, everything stays with the herb. And the thing that's pulled off is the water. So they look quite different. Have you ever seen the freeze dried strawberries in the stores? Freeze dried cranberries, and they look. The shape of them is still like the actual fruit, whereas if you get dried strawberries, cranberries, they look more like raisins.
Yeah.
So freeze drying is a really good technology. How we got into it is you can actually take blood from the body and freeze dry it, the plasma, and then put the water back in and put it back in the body. Whereas if you dried the blood out in air, it would degrade. So it's really very cool technology and innovative. So yeah, that's how we. So by our founder was looking at that and he said, "That's pretty cool.
That is awesome.
You can actually put it back in the body and it's not degraded." So he applied that technology to herbs.
Yeah.
So we got into it. So we're really quite different. And I think, I love that the consumers know that and they know what to look for. And they know that it's a high quality product.
That's pretty cool. So I imagine that probably also has to assist with the seasonality of things. Like, because I would imagine, and correct me if I'm wrong, but you're going to get people that are seasonally having, health issues. Some people get allergies or a cold during certain times of year and that kind of stuff. However, what they may need to take may not align with when certain herbs are actually in season and available. So like, is the freeze drying process basically like how you're able to keep inventory in stock all year?
Absolutely. So things come off the farm. There's things that are harvesting right now in spring. So we've got nettles that are available at the moment. And then we go out and gather them. And there's some things that are like summer, like St. John's wort, echinacea, things like that. But to keep them fresh, they're not going to last. So if you put them in the freeze dryer, it makes them available all year round. Of course, the best thing to do is if you could gather all your own herbs and make your own remedies, that would be the best. But then it's not possible. But you can even go out and you could eat nettles and you could get the fresh nettles, eat them, you'd get the same benefits for allergies that you will as getting the freeze dried one. But then that's just not possible. Our lives are busy. To identify the correct plant and everything like that. So as far as inventory goes, summer and spring are very busy. Everything comes in fresh, and then we have to prep it for freeze drying.
Wow, very interesting.
Year-round. And then, of course, winter is the busy season because everyone gets sick in winter, so they want the herbs.
Yeah.
So that's how we manage our inventory, is to freeze dry it right away.
Huh. So I know that like there's people out there where like you get sick, you go to a doctor, you talk to a doctor, they give you some kind of medication, you take it, that's what they're there for. It is what it is. And they think that, clean approaches. Sometimes I know like there's tinctures and stuff out there and herbs and all these different things where people are like, it's like witchcraft. Like that's not a real thing. What's your stance on it? Like, how do you believe it helps from a mental health perspective or just a physical health perspective? Like, how did you kind of get behind this and what are your thoughts on it?
I was fairly sick. How I got into naturopathic medicine myself was in New Zealand. I was pretty sick and just like digestive issues and things like that, and then had some female issues. And I went to the doctor, and the doctor basically said there's nothing wrong with me. And I was in quite severe pain and gave me some painkillers. And I said, well, I finished the painkillers. Can I get some more? That's why you're sick. You've taken too many painkillers. And then I ended up having to go into hospital. Like within 24 hours, I was so sick. And then I came out and I had an abdominal scar that I wasn't happy about. I thought, is there anything else I could have done differently? It was a very unpleasant experience. So I started searching. And back then, I didn't even know about naturopaths. This was back in the 90s, which is giving my age away a bit. But so I studied herbs and then did massage therapies and other things. And then I found the naturopathic school and was just thrilled that it encompassed everything. So I went in there. And I remember when I was studying, I just got like a UTI and was trying the herbs and they weren't working. I tried the homeopathy, it didn't work. And that's when I really understood about the quality of herbs. So you can take some things, but the quality is super important. And now I can go into a herb store and I can look at the herbs on the shelf and I can see by the colour how fresh they are, if they're going to work and things like that. But that started the journey. And then I went to Japan after I graduated. Never expected to be practicing over there, but it's sometimes cool how life has a plan for you and it just puts you on that path. So I was actually walking down the street and I saw a former student of mine. I taught Japanese and taught English in Japan for a while. And I said, hi, how are you? And he said, great, I just built a healing hotel. I said, oh, I just became a naturopath. And he said, do you want a clinic? And I was like, this is my dream. So I went in there and I established the clinic. I was the first naturopath over there. And then I thought I had more knowledge to share. So I started teaching. I wrote a book. I used to write articles and teach. And I met my husband over there and that journey brought me here to the States. And then I learned a lot from him. He's pretty well known in the herb industry. He knew so much about herbs. I'd walk behind him and then he'd just pick things up and say, tell me about what they did. And then I ended up absorbing that knowledge. And then I thought, I guess I'm the keeper of his knowledge now.
Passed down.
And and I really wanted to share that too. So what we used to do is we used to do these herb camps for kids. I'd have kids out and it was a bit like, can you imagine Harry Potter? Make your own remedies and gather the herbs. And I remember when I was a kid, I'd always want to pick my own flowers, but you can't go to the neighbours and pick flowers, you can get in trouble. So on the camps, I just pick whatever you want. We had safe stuff growing, of course. And then we'll make herb teas. We'll learn about what to do in the wilderness if you get a wound or something to cure. And make poultices and make all the different remedies, different food. So that was super fun. And then we also had an internship where we'd get people. It was kind of in the interest of like providing education to people that might not otherwise be able to access it. They could work on a herb farm, which was a beautiful experience. And the teachers would come in and teach different things. So that was pretty fun to do that.
That's awesome. That's also genius because you're teaching them young. So you've been around for 44 years. So by 54 years, they're now customers. Love it. Genius. Good move. Fred, so with that, so from the business side, right? So what's been the marketing approach? Because like you mentioned, you're on your own site, you're on Amazon, you're on a bunch of other sites. Like, so you've obviously got a lot of different places that your product's available. What's the marketing approach? What's been working? What hasn't been working? What have you been testing? Tell me a little bit about that.
So our making the transitions, when we're in the health food store model, that was pretty easy because we would have reps that would go into the store and it was a little word of mouth, training the staff, taking flyers in there. And then to make the switch to digital was a bit more challenging. And I think we learned a bit from that, just going from that face-to-face customer interface model to a more digital model was a little bit more challenging. So we actually rely on our distributors to do a lot of our marketing for us. So iHerb has a great marketing department, very skilled in what they do. They can go into other countries and they know what works for all the brands. So they do a lot of our marketing for us. Same with Amazon. Our distributor does that marketing. What we do in-house is we have a very loyal customer base. So that we send out emails. They have a very high open rate and engagement rate. And then we have our social media and things like that. I think that the main thing that we have is the loyalty from the customers. And I think what that comes from is having a very superior product. And a lot of it's at that point.
Yeah, that's always the best way to do it. What so obviously very loyal customer base. So your retention marketing is going to be like the way to do that. Obviously, email, SMS, all that fun stuff. For finding net new customers, I know Amazon's obviously a great customer acquisition channel, but are you doing anything from like a paid advertising perspective, or have you dabbled in like influencer marketing or anything like that to kind of reach a new audience?
We've tried that. So we've tried some things with influencers. We haven't quite found the right um, model that works for us with that. What we found is that we're getting a lot of views and it wasn't really translating into sales. And we want
Yeah.
to explore that a bit more. And then we've tried marketing companies, and then we've tried doing things ourselves. So we did some like pay per click and things like that. We
Mhm.
want to bring the marketing in house currently. We found sometimes with the marketing company, you need the right fit. So you need someone who gets your brand. And sometimes if you give your power away. So when I first initially ended up with the company, I had a CEO and we used a marketing company. And I didn't feel like they really got the brand. And that did some harm. They did a rebranding,
Ah,
confused about who we were. So that was a big learning experience. I think if you work with someone, you need that rapport. And I think in your gut, you know from the beginning if it's going to be a good fit or not. And I think you also have to keep your power because you know your brand the best. And I think it was a
yeah.
little bit of time of uncertainty. I wasn't completely aligned with the brand. I didn't expect to be in the position I was in. And then I was like, oh, I don't know what to do. And then I was looking outwards for advice and outwards for solution. And people would say, oh, this is what you do. But really, I had the answers myself. And now that I've stepped back into my power of it and taken the brand back. So we rebranded again and now it looks like us. And
Nice.
we're
Yeah, I would.
marketing person
I
to
would.
do that.
Yeah, I mean, I would completely agree with that. Even for as an agency owner, I'm always an advocate. Like, look, if you have the ability to bring it in house, bring it in house. It's always going to be better that they're just in like completely engulfed in the brand. They always understand it more, especially things like where you're creating content, like social media or blog writing or content writing of any kind, like that kind of stuff. If they really know the brand, it's so much better to just bring it in house. You're across a bunch of different channels. You mentioned your distributors are doing advertising for a bunch of those areas. What's the goal? Where are you trying to kind of take things next? Are there additional like marketplaces you're exploring? Are you thinking of going into other retail outlets? Like, what's that approach?
Build our retail channels at the moment. They were affected by COVID, as I think a lot of businesses were.
Yeah.
People stopped going into the stores. A lot of people went from retail and into the e-commerce. So our e-commerce channels are going gangbusters and they're really successful in there, but we've lost a lot of ground on retail. So we're looking at going back into the old model that we used to do. Some other herb companies do this and go back into the face-to-face and train the stores and have that interface with the customer.
Yeah.
And that's what we're trying to build. And then also trying to build some international more than we do.
Yeah. Oh, nice. Is the what's the no, go ahead.
Our e-commerce seems to be managing itself, so that's really growing and that's
Nice.
doing really well. So we're happy about that.
It's always great when you get that kind of snowball effect and you just sit back and watch it happen. You're like, this is awesome. I love it. The one of the things I was thinking, so obviously, like, we talked about your busy seasons in the winter, which makes sense. People are getting sick, that kind of stuff. But I also know that there's a lot of herbs that you're supposed to take, like, just on a regular basis to kind of just maintain your health and things like that. Is that something that you've kind of set up as like a subscription model, or is there like an upsell kind of thing? Like, what's that approach like to kind of keep that retention in place?
Subscription model on our website, and that's super successful. We get a lot of repeat business,
Mm-hmm.
and we also get new customers as well. I think that's the social media driving that. And then they can get things by subscription. So some things, we have some freeze-dried powders, like green powders, beet juice powders, celery juice is pretty hot at the moment, and things like that you just take on a daily basis. And what they do is, I'm super into juicing to try to stay healthy. I think mental health is really important too when you're a business owner. But juice every morning is just not convenient, whereas freeze-dried juice offers a good alternative for that. So things like that work really well in the subscription model. And then some things, like liver health is important, digestive health. I think it's just the way we live with a bad diet, the stress levels and too much screen time affecting our sleep cycles and things like that. People need some help with their health. So the subscription model works well with that. Yeah.
Very, very interesting. What's is your thought to, so you mentioned you want to go back into retail, right? So you want to kind of go a little bit back to that, but are you thinking about like pouring any gas on the e-commerce side, or are you mainly focused on just getting back into the retail side?
We also want to pour some gas on e-commerce. For this year, for 2024, we actually partnered with our biggest brand, our biggest customer, which is IO, and we came up with a marketing campaign together, which they're in control of. And then we followed that by giving additional discount, and then they're pouring that into marketing.
Yeah.
So the e-commerce, definitely, we're doing some things there.
Yeah,
So,
it's awesome. Have you done anything from like a SEO perspective? Because I know like that's what I was kind of thinking about too, right? Like my wife, as I mentioned, like she's been teaching me as much as I can, but I got to Google stuff, and so I started Googling things, and there's a ton of content out there about people that claim things and things like that. And I know that you're not necessarily in the medical space, so like you're not too worried about making claims, but you also still don't want to. So what's the approach on like an SEO side and being wary of some of the things that you're stating?
we have to actually be very careful. So we're regulated by the FDA, and there's some rumors out there sometimes that the supplement companies space is not very regulated. Actually, very regulated. So the FDA will just show up on the doorstep maybe every 2 years, and they're unannounced, and then they do an inspection. We do really well. So I'm a stickler on quality and making sure that we do everything well. So we never have a problem with the FDA. And when they come in, it's kind of, I tell my staff, this is an educational opportunity. They might find some things, but it's just an opportunity to learn. So there's no nervousness when they show up, they come in, something. But we can't make claims unless there's studies to back it. So I can't go out. There's some words which you would absolutely not say. Like anything that will cure, diagnose, or treat, you have to stay away from. So our products support the structure and function of the body is about all we can say, and then we have that backed up by studies on file. The studies aren't necessarily related to our products. We have some specific to our products. That the freeze-dried nettles, it was our product that was studied, and some other ones as well. But I think that kind of is the same part of the plant and the same thing of the plant. There's a study on it, and we can make that claim.
Yeah.
So we have to be very careful. That's the other thing with getting a marketing company. They have to be well aware of what we can say, because you could say things, you could sell a lot of product, pick a disease or something that people are worried about, the product will cure it. We were getting so much trouble that it's not worth it. So we're a little bit on the conservative side, just being a naturopath as well and being pretty familiar with the regulations on what we will say as far as marketing goes.
Oh, it's amazing. We work with several supplement companies and other like kind of wellness brands that do certain things. And like when we're doing copy, it is like we got to write a novel of what you can and can't say because no one wants to get sued. That's always a problem. Then you got ADA stuff that gets involved. It is. I don't envy you. But Christine, I don't want to take up too much more of your time. I really appreciate you having you on the show. I would love to give you an opportunity to let everyone know where they can find out more about you and of course, more about Eclectic Herb.
Oh, great. Thank you. The best place would be to look at our website, which is eclecticherb.com. You can also check out our social media. And if you want to sign up for our emails.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Appreciate having you on the show. Obviously, everyone that tuned in, thank you as well. Please make sure you do the usual, rate, review, subscribe, all that fun stuff on whichever podcast platform you prefer, or head over to the ecommshow.com to check out all of our previous episodes. But as usual, thank you all for joining us, and we'll see you all next time. Have a good one.
Thank you for tuning in to the E-Comm Show. Head over to ecommshow.com to subscribe on your favorite podcast platform or on the BlueTuskr YouTube channel. The E-Comm Show is brought to you by BlueTuskr, a full-service digital marketing company specifically for e-commerce sellers looking to accelerate their growth. Go to BlueTuskr.com now for more information. Make sure to tune in next week for another amazing episode of The E-Comm Show.